All right. F1 2011 theme. '11. Spectate, Kinsey. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you here today for the rerun of the 4th round of XRL's X2 Championship here at the land of Silverstone, the home, the beating heart of Formula One and the heart of the XRL series. I'm your host for today's broadcast, St. Lear 13, normally broadcasting for the X3 series, and today I'm joined with the man who normally covers the broadcast for the X1 series, Kinsey Retro. Kinsey, go ahead, make sure your audio is included. Make sure you're also in spectate mode, because I think that's the only reason why we've not gotten it underway already. Let's get into it. It's Silverstone. It's the home race for many of these drivers. It's the beating heart for Formula One. No qualifying today. We're just going straight into the race. What are you expecting today?
Well, there are plenty of opportunities for like either overtaking opportunities, especially down the DRS straight, so the Wellington straight and the Hangman straight as well. But you've also got opportunities where there could be mistakes made, especially through the fast right-hander of Cox before Maggots and Beckett. That whole section there could be opportunities for mistakes from all these drivers.
Big thing to consider. This is X2, but due to the shifting in time, because this race was ran significantly earlier, partially because it's only a partial rerun of the event, we're not doing qualifying, but also because the Formula One Miami Grand Prix is on later today, some X2 drivers who qualified for this event 2 weeks ago were not able to show up today, and we have some X3 drivers who have stepped up to fill seats instead. So it's a 17-car grid, but I think we're going to see a slightly bigger spread in the field's pace from bottom to top because we have a few more X3 guys here than we normally do.
Yeah, that's very true to take that into consideration. But at the same time, it adds to that level of unpredictability as to who is going to finish where over the course of this evening.
There's also the fight that you have the championship battle at play, as I'm going to go ahead real quickly and try to bring the championship up. Now again, these points are a little bit up in the air because I'm not 100% sure if they count the point that would be awarded for pole from qualifying at Silverstone 2 weeks ago. But I do have the points, or a version of the points, up, ready to go. So as we look at the Manufacturers' Championship first, you have to take into consideration, at the bottom is Alfa Romeo, 11 points. 9th is Williams with 14. 8th is Haas with 24 points. 7th, Red Bull has 26 points. 6th is Alpine. They have 33 points right now. 5th in the Manufacturers' Championship is Mercedes, aka the Great Satan, with 46 points. 4th is Aston Martin with 53. 3rd is McLaren with 57. 2nd is AlphaTauri with 61. Right now, Ferrari has a nice, comfortable lead in the Manufacturers' Championship with 91 points. Then you turn and you look at the Drivers' Championship. Things are a little bit more unbalanced here. We have 28 drivers on the sheet. 28 drivers' names on the sheet, but we're only going to go through the ones that have earned at least 1 point this season. Starting with 19th, RTM English on 1 point. 18th is XRO Zola with 3 points. 17th is Flesh 2020. He has 17 points. 16th is V8 Irons, one of the graduates from X3 last season. He is staying with 7 points this season. Right now, 15th is Mr. Appreciator 6869 with 11 points. There is a 3-way tie for 12th in points between XRO Yan, X Hits the Spot, and BTEC 11. All three of them have 12 points exactly. 11th is XRL Torpedo. He has 13 points. 10th is Mr. Neon 713. He has 19 points right now. 9th in the Drivers' Championship is Yabascan with 20. 8th is TIR Foreman with 24. 7th is Harry 5902 with 27. Then 6th, Fizzy 258 has 30 points. There's another tie in the championship for 4th between XRL Pelly and XRL Ozza. They both have 33 points each. There's also a tie for 2nd in the championship right now, 43 points even for PPR Venom and Franz W31. Your current championship leader is Chubby Spark with 67 points in the Ferrari.
Yeah, and of course, take into account as well, folks, for those that are tuning in for the first time this season, it's an 11 race calendar. We were initially going to have 13 races, but because of the details that surfaced over the last couple of weeks regarding the new F1 game, which will be out on July 3rd or June 30th if you're getting the Champions Edition, which gives you 3 days early access, but that aside, we have had to shorten it down to just 11 races to accommodate for the release of the new game.
So, actually, on that topic, and this is going to be kind of a, this could be considered an emotional topic, but please don't get too emotional. There are some guys who were shitposting with me in the X3 Drivers Lounge, because I spent a lot of time talking with the X3 drivers.
Okay.
And the joke was, hey, you win there are 2 championships typically for the XRL series in the game. You normally have the first one, which goes through all the races of the season, and then you have the shortened second one.
Yeah.
Is a champion in the shortened second season as good as a champion in the longer season?
Well, there are actually 2 ways of looking at that, because the champion for the full season is being able to have the endurance to be able to, in boxing terms, go the distance, to be able to complete as many of those races as possible, especially with how long the calendar is. Because you're looking at 20 plus races a season now, which is, I mean, if you were to say
excessive.
If you were to say we would end up with nearly, if you were to say 10, 20 years ago that we'd end up with a 20 plus race calendar, people would have laughed at us saying that's not physically possible. But in terms of the short season champion, that's more a case of having made fewer mistakes throughout the season while at the same time attending as many races as possible, because all it takes is not showing up for 1 or 2 races or ending up with a couple of DNFs, and that's all it can take to swing the course of the championship in somebody else's favor.
We're preparing to get underway onto this track, but yeah, you make a great point, and one of the big things when you take in consideration building a point system for any series is that a really, really short season and a really, really large season, just general consistency wins the championship. There's a nice happy spot around 15 to 20 races where things get a lot more interesting. We're not there. Consistency is key. As we see the lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. It's lights out! Away we go at Silverstone! Roundabout, RTM English, and Pelly have a drag race. Pelly on the outside, though, looks like he's going to hold it, and he will get ahead to the Red Bull as Neon goes up.
Huge crash! What happened there? That has to be a full safety car, surely. It's only a virtual at the moment. I just saw one of the Ferraris, and that was Foreman, making contact with somebody, and the damage was just too severe to continue, and that's one of the Ferraris out of the race. How is that only a virtual safety car, though?
This game is sometimes weird with how it delivers its various safety cars and stuff. But what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and try to get Tiara Foreman into the party. Now this means that Shelby Spark has no ally out there to help them. He has to work his way from 5th to 1st on his own with no teammate to help back him up on strategy. Some other things to take note of, though. Pelly did move into the lead, and Mr. Neon moved up into 2nd. Our team English, who had a front row start, slipped down to 3rd. Harry 5902 is still running 4th on fresh soft tires. And again, no qualifying for today's race, so everyone is on nice, fresh rubber. You don't have to worry about any worn rubber at the start of the event. The soft tires, especially with this early safety car, can go a lot farther than what we're used to seeing at the start of these races.
Yeah, and to put up a point I mentioned earlier in the build-up, all it takes is a DNF, like we just saw with Foreman, to potentially swing the course of the championship. Because this may just cause the AlphaTauris especially.
And we're back.
This may cause the AlphaTauris to close the gap on Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, as Preacher has to come in. That is surely... And someone's gone already! Someone's gone as well. I saw somebody...
That's a Williams.
English! RTM
That's English.
Oh, dear.
10-second time penalty as well. Ooh, and Dave very nearly swerves into him. But when we went green also, there was some movement a little bit farther back in the grid as well. But yeah, Preacher and Veloce both coming into the pit lane. So now the focus is on Pelly, Neon, Harry, and Shelby. The top four all within about 2 seconds of each other, all on alternate tire strategies to the man in front of them. So that could get very interesting.
Absolutely. Preacher and Veloce, meanwhile, they've had to come in to get their front wings changed.
Ooh! And Jameson is going to get right to the side of Shikari, and it looks like he's going to get him on the outside. Did Shikari get any damage in the incident?
Oh, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think I saw somebody going wide on the exit of Love as we go into Cops there. English is disconnected from the session, but to bring it back up, to bring him right up to speed with what's happened, because Foreman suffered a huge crash at the start of the race, and as a result is out, and that means one less Ferrari on the track at the moment. It's Pelly currently in the lead, Neon second, Harry third, Chubby Spark the championship leader in fourth, Young in fifth, Zola sixth, Asda and Torpedo battling for 7th and 8th places as they go through the final chicane. Jaleb in 9th and James John rounding up the top 10. Lap 3 DRS now enabled. Asda and Torpedo still battling over that 7th place as they head through into the start of lap 3.
Alright, so here's the thing. Azda has the position, but Torpedo's going to have the advantage coming onto this straight because it's a DRS straightaway. If Torpedo is close enough, he can capitalize. The answer, though, is that Williams has fallen off just a bit. I think the medium tire compound just doesn't have quite the level of grip that he wants. He's going to use DRS to close in, but now he has to worry a little bit more about maybe holding off the Haas of BTEC 11 and the Aston Martin of Javis John. Javis is doing a respectable job trying to move his way up through the grid right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to avoid all the drama at the start of the race, but of course, yes, right now the softer tire is the ultimate.
Oh, pass around! That's Torpedo!
God, that's on the exit of Cops. And I was saying earlier that it's very easy to lose the car at that corner, somehow still in the race, but with no front wing at all. That's going to be another front wing change. Can this day get any worse for Williams?
I mean, it could potentially, but one team that is happy with how things are going right now is the Alpine, because it is the Alpine of Extra Apelli, who is out opening up a 2+ second gap, and for second, Mr. Neon and Harry are fighting, and the longer those two keep fighting, the less and less likely they're going to be able to close on Pelly for the race lead.
Absolutely. A yellow flag sector 3, and that's Young maneuver.
Young's around.
Corner, and he's lost his front wing as well. And the worst part is, that's after the pit entry, so he's going to have to do an entire lap at the track with no front wing whatsoever.
What makes it even worse for Young is that he was running and fighting in the top 5 positions. Now, I'm going to be honest, the chance of him finishing on the lead lap now plummets to almost a 0% chance.
Oh dear. It's just gone so far south so quickly for a number of these drivers, but especially, like I said, the Williams team, they're now out of the point, especially with Torpedo, who was battling with Asda for 7th and 8th places. Harry, meanwhile, in the McLaren, is right on the back of Neon, going around Cops, heading up to Maggots and Beckett's now. This is the battle for 2nd place here. Got to be careful with track limits, otherwise you're going to end up picking up time penalties for track limits. And as I say that, Harry picks up one for extending track limits. You've got to be careful with track limits, especially around this sort of track. Neon doing well to try and defend as much as he can from Harry, but there's not much he can do going around Stone.
Ooh, a little bit of contact.
And Harry gets through into 2nd place, and now he needs to start building that gap to be able to maintain 2nd place on track, even though he hasn't stopped yet.
Big thing to consider, though, is that Harry spent those last 5 laps tucked behind the rear wing of that Red Bull. His soft tire compounds are going to be worn a little bit more than he's going to want to have to deal with. That, coupled with the time penalty, means that while, yes, right now he has the position advantage on track, long-term strategy, he is now at a deficit to both Mr. Neon and Shelby Spark behind him, who are on harder tires that can take more wear, and they can go longer on this set of tires, and third and fourth place currently do not have any time penalties against them.
Yes, and there we go, young maneuver coming into the pits, and the worst part about this sort of pit lane, it's a slow speed limit, 37 miles an hour, which is 60 kilometers an hour, taking into account that you'll be losing about half a minute just making you stop here. Add that to the fact that you need to change your front wing, you'll be looking at about 45 seconds all in getting your front wing changed. He's going onto a set of mediums. Now, is it possible to get the mediums to the end from here?
It's possible. Alright, so I can say this only based off of the many races I've broadcasted. Yes, it's possible to get mediums to last from this point to the end of this race with 21, 22 laps of wear. But they aren't going to be fast. You'll be hemorrhaging positions for the last 5 or 7 laps of this race.
Yeah, and that'll mean a result. That'll mean the result of a lot of lost time, on top of not being able to have the optimum grip levels in the tire, which means you're more at risk of losing positions.
Alright, so here's a fight to take note of. While Shelby Spark is still close enough to get DRS off of the battle between Harry and Neon ahead of him, Ozda has been burning the absolute living torment out of his tires and out of his ERS. He is now closed up right behind the Ferrari for the 4th position. Actually made a bit of contact with him in Sector 2. This is going to become a very interesting fight for 4th here.
Yeah, absolutely, but Shelby Spark also has the DRS on Neon ahead of him, so that mitigates the DRS from Asda, so Chubby safe for the time being. As I say that, Asda's going to try around the outside of the left field corner into Woodcut, and into 4th place he goes. How's about that?
The Ferrari just made a little bit of a mistake entering the corner, went a little bit wide, and while it looked like he was going to make the racing line, a slight twist on exit meant that he dragged just half of the width of the tires into the gravel. It slowed him down enough on the straight that Ozda was able to power by. Now Ozda is in 4th. Again though, Shelby Spark does have the advantage in tire life. He also has the advantage in ERS. But Ozda just seems to have a pure, sheer pace advantage right now.
Yeah, and that for him could be crucial in terms of climbing up the championship standing, even though it doesn't look like he's in contention for the championship at this point. But again, I mentioned it earlier and I'll bring it up again. All it takes is one bad result or a DNF from one of the top drivers to open the race wide open.
Well, while this has all been going on, I do want to real quickly mention that Pelly is still leading. He extended that gap up to about 2 3/4 of a second, but it's not really changed much since that point. I think that Pelly is both nursing his tires and just managing the gap because he knows the man in 2nd place right now has a time penalty. Pelly right now has, at least this early stage of this race, under a nice solid lock in his favor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's allowing Pelly to have a little bit of a breather at the moment, to be able to try and extend his tires further into the race than some of the others around him. But of course, time will tell to see if anything plays out.
Alright, so now we see this battle for 2nd and the battle for 4th as it goes into Magus and Beckett's. Ozda has not gotten close enough to Mr. Neon to get DRS on the following straight, I believe, so Shelby might be able to close Beckett, but as I say that, Shelby may be struggling with that car because he's just lost a bunch of time in Magus and Beckett's himself now.
Yeah, that particular section is very easy.
Oh, here comes Neon!
Into this for 2nd place. Neon to try and get ahead of Harry. And I think he's just got it. Yes, he has.
So now the question is, have we reached the point in the race, tires are falling off, and if so, how is that going to affect the battle between Pelly and Neon? Pelly has a track advantage. He could go ahead, jump in through all mediums. They'd be rough near the end of this race, but he does have that potential option available to him.
Yeah, the undercut could be very crucial in terms of determining who the race winner is going to be for this evening. But again, like I said, time will tell to see if that ends up paying dividends, whether it's for Pelly or for Neon, depending on who goes for the undercut first.
Also, as I'm looking through the grid right now, everyone seems to be really confident with their fuel numbers. No one is in a position where they're just saving fuel right now. Ozda has now closed right into this battle for second, so Ozda absolutely hammering away at these drivers. I really think that Ozda might try and sneak a victory in here, but he needs to make these tires last as long as possible so he doesn't get totally screwed on tire strategy by race in.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's going to need to start saving his battery because he's been burning it at every opportunity he can. He's barely in double digits as he's got the DRS on this battle ahead of him for second place, as they're definitely wanting a piece of that action. But at the moment, not able to make anything of it. Leon doing well to keep Harry behind him, and Leon keep second place for the time being. Chubby Spark, meanwhile, did pick up a 3-second penalty for track limits.
Yeah, it seems like the top four right now, Pelly, Neon, Harry, and Ozda, are pretty much in a zip code of their own. Oh, here comes Harry with the dive on Neon, and is he going to commit? He tried to, but could not
Here
keep
comes
it together
Ozda
through there. He's going to get alongside of him. He can't keep it through the following corner, though. This will upset his run onto this DRS straightaway. And Harry's not close enough to make a dive on Neon, so the three of them stay nose to tail for another corner.
Status quo maintained for the time being. I had a little bit of a look into Brooklands, but again, not being able to make anything of it. Now, you mentioned at the top of the broadcast that this is, of course, the home race for a number of these XRL drivers, but it is also more significantly the home of British motorsport.
Which is kind of a shame because I think Brands Hatch is a more significant track, and I think that would serve better as a home. But that's just me.
Well,
you have so many great tracks, and while Silverstone is good, it's not quite the level of greatness that, you know, there are. I'm just saying, you guys have a lot of absolutely fantastic racing circuits. This is a 7 out of 10. I would expect that your home would be, you know, considered a different circuit.
Yeah, but with the nature of the Brands Hatch circuit, it would need to go through significant upgrades to be able to be eligible for Formula One again.
Oh, I'm fully aware that Brands Hatch is never going to be eligible for Formula 1 again. Honestly, Brands Hatch will never be available for any sort of open-wheel racing again unless it's Formula 4s or those Formula 1600s that have no rear wing. Here comes Ozza to the inside of Harry at the end of the straightaway. Pulls alongside McLaren versus Aston Martin. Both Mercedes-powered cars neck and neck. Ozza's on the outside. He's committing and just cannot stay alongside her, can he? Yes! He's still there, but he's been kept on the outside for multiple laps in a row. He's still doing it, and he is going to just massively power by. That is some incredible pace and incredible confidence he has in that Aston Martin.
The amount of momentum that Asda has under him after being able to pull that off has to be biblical at this point. Now he's getting bearing down on Neon for that second place. He, like you said earlier, he definitely wants this race win tonight.
And here's the big thing to consider. Yes, Neon has the advantage in tires, but Ozda does not seem to be struggling due to his tire issues whatsoever.
Harry's the first of the front runners in. 10 laps on those softs, so this could be pivotal. This could be the undercut.
Those mediums will definitely last him. Those mediums that he'll swap onto will definitely give him a small short-term advantage, especially if he comes out on track in the middle of clean air with no traffic. Ozda is going to make this overtake on Neon on this following straight. He is right beneath that Red Bull's rear wing, and he's going to have great DRS on the straightaway. Assuming he can put the power down properly, this should go in his favor.
Yes, here we go down the Wellington straight on the run down to Brooklands, but Neon doing well to keep Asda behind him. Oh, and a little bit of a mistake there from Neon. Asda almost capitalizing on it, but not able to make anything of it at the moment. Harry goes down to 8th place at the moment, but like you said, he's got nobody else around him to worry about for the time being. Neon and Asda still battling for second place as they head through Cops. Asda taking a tighter line.
Ooh, contact!
Goes into the rear end of Neon's car as they go through Maggots and Beckett. This is a really, really tight battle between these two, and again, almost into the rear end But who is going to have the advantage here? Neon has more ERS, but Asda is going to have the DRS on Neon as a result of being within the 1 second of that DRS detection zone, and Neon loses second place. Asda takes that second place, now starts hunting Pelly down.
But all this fighting from second to fifth has brought Asda, yes, into the second spot, but he is now over 5 seconds out from Pelly right now. And yes, Asda is burning through his ERS, but I don't know if Asda is going to have the time or the ability to run down a 5-second gap between now and the end of this race. He may have to rely on that leading Alpine, gain some time penalties if he wants to steal this win.
Yeah, I was about to say he might need to rely on Pelly making a couple of mistakes here and there to be able to capitalize on the mistakes that Pelly could potentially make, and then Asda going on to take the ring. The gap still remaining at around 5 seconds at the moment as Asda comes through Brooklands, Lovefield and Woodcut on the run down on the old pit straight down to Cops.
Asda's doing a good job just gradually managing the gap against Mr. Neon and slowly opening it up. And now that he has fresh air on those tires, it should be a lot easier for him to navigate his way through these higher speed corners like Magnussen Beckett's where he's going through now. He is leaning on that car through the corners. I've not seen anyone else absolutely lean their entire body weight into the cars like that. You can actually see him shifting through the corners, trying to conserve as much momentum as possible.
Yeah, and that's one of the
Pelly's in and Asda's in.
And that's one of the things to take into account going through that sequence, especially. And Asda,
5-second penalty, speeding, entering the pit lane. That might be enough to give Pelly the race win, because Pelly, yes, he's going to end up behind Neon and Spark, but Neon and Chubby Spark have yet to make their stop. Pelly now has made a stop, won't have to make another one. I think this will give Pelly the race win.
Yeah, it's a very easy one-stop round this track. What I was about to say with regards to you talking about Asda leaning into the car, that's how intense the cornering forces are around this track, especially when you're going through the right-hander of Cops. You're looking at easily 5-6 Gs without even trying round that corner, and then you've got Maggot Beckett to try and mitigate the cornering forces of Cops, and then you've got a bit of a reprieve heading down the hangar straight.
So you brought up earlier how important the undercut can be. Well, Harry, by virtue of utilizing the undercut and gain on the mediums a little bit earlier, has now ended up ahead of Asda on track. That's only by about half a second. Asda will naturally have DRS to power back by. But again, this now has put Asda even more on the back foot. He's going to really have to try hard now just to outrun that 5-second penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. But so we've seen it throughout the race that he does have the ability to be able to close the gap down, but the problem he has to deal with is he's great at being able to close the gap. It's closing the gap and getting past another driver are two completely different ball games. And as I say,
not a problem for Asda here though.
There we go.
He's already
DRS.
by him before they. Yeah, that DRS-ERS combo, coupled with a great exit out of the last corner of Magnussen Beckett's, means that Asda makes that overtake before even getting into the braking zone, so Asda's already up into 6. Now, here's the other thing, though. Yes, Asda has that 5-second time penalty, but on track, he has closed the gap between himself and Pelly. It was 5.1 seconds. Now it's only 3.2 seconds between himself and the Alpine. So Asda is a little bit closer to Pelly. It's just when you factor in time penalties as well, he's farther away.
Yeah, he's effective. Yeah, it's a case of for those that are wondering how Asda can maintain position to those behind him. What he has to do is, depending on how much in terms of time penalties he gets, he's got 5 seconds at the moment. What he needs to do is that he needs to overtake Pelly and build a 5-second gap on top of that. So it's more work for Asda to do in order to maintain position on the track.
Now Pelly is caught behind the Haas of BTEC Jelebin. Jelebin has not yet made his pit stop, and it looks like Pelly's thinking of making a move. Well, he thought of making a move in a non-overtaking corner. So yeah, Pelly is aware of the situation. He wants to get moving as fast as possible, but that Haas is giving him some headaches.
Yeah, but as you say that, here we go. DRS and ERS combined on the run down to Stowe. He's going to have to try the outside, and he comes through with ease. Didn't even break a sweat. Said, thank you very much. I'll have a bit of that. Now he can start hunting Boothie, Chubby, and Neon down. But be taking into account that the top three still haven't pitted yet, Pelly is the de facto race leader, taking into account that the top three and Jaleb haven't pitted yet.
Other thing to consider is that Jaleb is running between Pelly and Ozda on track right now, but Jaleb is going to have to pit still. He is still on that set of medium tires he started this race on. Kind of an interesting point in this event where every single car on track is on medium tires, but the tire life and strategy across most of the field is wildly varied all across the board. From about 11th on down are all drivers who had relatively good potential starts to this race, but were involved in incidents early on and had to pit, or just didn't have pace to keep up. And then you get from 10th on up, and it's completely different. Those are drivers who are actually fighting on track position on merit for the most part. Sha'Carri's kind of broken into that after being involved in some incidents early on. But they still have a lot of them to either overcome the time loss from an earlier pit stop, or they need to lose time by making a pit stop in a few laps. So we're kind of in that weird in-between the middle of strategy overlay point right now. Chubby Spark has now inherited the lead as Mr. Neon pits out of the top spot, as does Boothie as well.
There we go. Championship leader now in the lead of the race. We're on to lap 16. We've got 11 to go, including the lap we're on. Veloce picks up a penalty for track limits. And it's a traditional, and in terms of the scoring system, it's a traditional scoring system, 25 points for the win as Pelly gets the fastest lap of the race all the way down.
No, that's Ozda.
And then Ozda takes it from him. This is going to be an interesting battle for the fastest lap because it's a traditional F1 scoring system here. 25 points for a win, 18 for second, 15 for third, so on and so forth, down to 1 point for 10th place. But there's two fastest lap points on offer. You've got a point for the fastest lap inside the top 10, and you've also got a point for the fastest lap outside the top 10. But you've got to make sure you finish the race at the same time in order for it to count.
And by finishing the race, we mean completing at least 90% of the event, considering this is a 26-lap race. If you are running, or you are at least able to complete 24 of today's laps, that will be counted as running at the finish. So,
that's how it would be determined as being classified. Because as long as you're classified at the finish, you'll be fine.
It's going to get interesting because Ozda has now caught right, and Chubby now paying out the top spot. So this will give the lead back to XRL Pelly. But Ozda absolutely barreling down on that Haas of BTEC 11. The only problem
Chubby's
is he
in.
caught him.
Chubby's in. Ozda
caught the Haas before he was able to overtake him with DRS. So Ozda needs to figure out some other way by the Haas, and the Haas pits.
Well, there you go. There's your answer.
But it held Ozda up enough that he's now 3 seconds out from Pelly on track. He is second, but he's now 3 seconds out.
Yeah, so here we go. 10 to go, including the lap they're on right now. So Chubby Spark, and there we go. That's another example of the undercut working in somebody's favor. Neon pitting first ahead of Chubby, and now Neon is ahead of Chubby on track. And that's.
But here's the counterpoint. Here's the counterpoint to that, though. Chubby Spark made his pit stop 1 lap later. This is kind of, we get into the scenario that, yes, soft tire life is very, very iffy, it's very, very twitchy. Chubby's tires are going to last a little bit better, a little bit longer compared to that Red Bull ahead, and he's going to be faster than the 3 people who are in the top 3 positions on medium tires as well. So, yes, right now he's in a hole. There may be a strategy in the Ferrari camp, though, that being on these soft tires a little bit later in the event will give him a little bit better positioning in the closing laps of this race. Will it work out? Eh, who knows? I can't see the future, but that's probably the strategy they're going with right now.
Indeed. Asda and Harry still battling with each other, but it's Harry that's on the back foot. His tires are a couple of laps older than Asda's, as Preacher picks up another penalty for track limit. Young coming in to get rid of his mediums. He's going for softs to the end of the race. Everybody, as it stands, still on lead lap, but who knows how much longer that is going to last. Boothie getting himself ahead of Shikari as they head towards Vale and Club still side by side, and Boothie shuts the door hard into Shikari's face and just basically bars him from entering the house.
And that's the big advantage of having fresh softs against worn mediums. Shikari trying to basically dig himself out of a hole from an instant earlier in the event. He's running 9th now, 12 seconds ahead of Veloce and 10, so he could still walk out of here, bringing the Mercedes team some points. Actually, that Mercedes pops open the DRS lane on the ERS, so he might try to go for a dive into the corner. Thinks better of it. Must not have the confidence necessary in the tires.
Still anybody's guess at the moment in regards to who is going to get the race win. Asda still carrying that 5-second penalty from his pit lane infringements for speeding in the pit lane. Preacher, meanwhile, gets the fastest lap of the race. So it looks like those that are outside the top 10, they're going for the fastest lap of the race, which will give them the bonus point for the fastest lap outside the top 10, which could cause a little bit of havoc for those that are chasing the fastest lap inside the top 10 in terms of going for the fastest lap of the race.
The counterpoint to that, though, is that we still aren't near the end of this race. There's still a good amount of fuel in these cars. Formula One cars nowadays, despite being the heaviest they've ever been, are still very weight sensitive. You take off a little bit of weight and you'll go significantly faster. For the likes of Torpedo, Preacher, Yun, English, they may be hurting themselves long term because all it will take is someone like Veloce, BTEC 11, or Dave to come in later and the last 2-3 laps put on a new fresh set of sauce and steal fastest lap point from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because with how much time the drivers lose when you've got a full tank of fuel in it, and this is going like by full 100% race distance, you're losing around 3 seconds a lap at the start of the race with that full tank. But as the fuel starts to burn away, the cars do get faster, which means it's easier to push the tires longer the later you get into the race.
So this is an interesting little battle that's developed for second, third. I don't know if Asda has cooled off, or maybe these medium tires aren't clicking with him as well as the softs did. But the gap between first and second is now opened up to 3.3 seconds, and Harry, who is in third, is actually closed in to fighting range against Asda. So Harry might try to steal second place back from that Aston Martin in these closing 7 laps. There is also another fight against Aston Martins. This is Zola in 7th and Jabasyan in 6th. Zola, though, is on more worn tires, but has no time penalties. Jabasyan does have a time penalty, so this could end up being a very interesting little spat for this position as well.
Yeah, I've brought it up numerous times that I've got to give massive props to Zola for being as committed to the XRL as he is. He does a lot of this on his own, being able to get the rosters organised, getting helping with the incidents, just doing everything, just doing as much as possible on the F1 side of things for the XRL. You've got to give him massive props for being as committed as he is to the XRL. And if there's anybody that's not able to make it for commentary on any given week and there's nobody else to step up, Zola is there to fill that gap.
And that also leads into one other thing. There is a little bit of questions in the air regarding XRL Zola's continuing career as a driver within XRL. There is a lot of talk going on that he may go to full managerial position because he is betting on moving into the next game. There will be another swelling in the ranks. For the most part, every time we go from an older game to a newer game in the F1 series, XRL expands their ranks and gets more drivers. He says that's usually at about a rate of about anywhere from 20 to 60 at the start, and then it normally drops off by about half of that as the game goes on.
Zola just picked up a penalty.
But as I was saying, he's betting on XRL continuing to expand again when we move to the next game, F1 2022. He's thinking of maybe not driving anymore, or only driving in dev, and then in turn just taking back as a pure managerial and broadcaster role. If he does that, I wish to say thank you for being willing to not only organize stuff, but also giving us the years on track as a very, very fast and very, very dedicated racer as well. It is extremely hard to balance both sides of things, and I would say that Zola has done a very good job of it, all things considered.
Yeah, and he's actually been pretty successful as well throughout the course of his career as well. Multiple-time Dev League champion as well.
Oh, here's that fight for second. I'm sorry to cut you off, mate, but the fight for second is on. Harry is right behind him. He's right under him. He's not going to commit through Maggins and Beckett's, but if he can just keep enough speed out of the final corner, he might be able to pull alongside Ozda. No, yeah, he loses a bunch of it.
And taking into account there as well, they say, oh, Ozzy, you can't be doing that. You can't be weaving on the track like that. You're only allowed to make one defensive maneuver when trying to defend your position. And is Harry going to punish him for that? Yes, he is. Easy as that. Into second place, punishing Ozda hard for weaving a bit too excessively for that.
I can't help but think that Ozda would have had that position on hold easily if he just held the straight line. Yes, the draft is very big and very important in these cars. However, the fastest point from one lane to another is traditionally in a straight line. Ozda scrubbed off too much speed going side to side.
Yeah, and
that's Torpedo in the Williams was just had a spin in sector 2.
Williams going even further south than they already have. Not sure how that's even possible to go even further south than...
Oh, it could get even... Oh, Ozda's just gotten back by Harry in the DRS zone. But it could go even worse for the Williams because if it keeps up like this, Pelly is going to put both RTM English and Axor Torpedo a lap down before this race ends. So Williams is back to their proper post-Maldonado performances then, it seems.
Well, you could see right now they're in the... they've got post-George Russell performances as well.
I mean, Williams still got a point at Australia. Granted, it was through it was mainly off of extremely fortunate strategy more than car or driver skill, but they're definitely running better now than what we've seen them in this race.
And he is through again, but Ozda is going to try the outside line heading into Vale, and then he's going to have the inside line heading into Club. Is Harry going to try and get him on the switchback of the last corner, heading onto the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight? Ozda keeps second place for the time being. This is a great battle for second place.
Harry is still right there behind the Aston Martin. Does he decide to make a dive or does he wait until the next DRS straight? The answer, he'll go DRS. Oh, no, he's not. Look at that, Ozda. I think that was intentional. Ozda swerved over, let Harry get alongside just to compromise McLaren's line. Now that McLaren can't take as much speed onto this next DRS straight.
Oh, that might be a bit of a no-no in the eyes of the stewards. That might be a bit of a no-no.
No or not, that was a very, very clever and smart move, and I must applaud Ozda for pulling that thing off. Now here's the counterpoint though, as these two keep fighting, it's bringing Mr. Neon in fourth up into play. Neon does not have time penalties. If the two of these drivers keep fighting like this, Neon has got to jump both of them and finish second on penalty countbacks.
Yeah, so Neon could easily just sit back behind these two and just let them battle it out amongst themselves while he closes the gap, maintains the distance to them, being able to stay as close to them as he needs to be without having to worry about overtaking them on track to be able to get that second place.
So Pelly is now caught behind the rear wing of RTM English, and as they come across the line, it's going to be 5 laps to go. Sorry, 4 laps to go. 3 laps to go. I'm sorry, I apparently can't count today.
That's fine. Three laps, including the lap they're on.
Battle for second, although it will likely become a battle for third, is still weighing very heavily. This time, Harry not as close to the Aston Martin. He carries a little bit more speed onto the straight in theory, and he's laying on the ERS early on. He's got DRS. He should be able to pull alongside. Aston Martin now moves to the inside to defend that, so Harry has to be on the outside, side by side, still side by side. Neither of them want to back out of it. It's Ozda.
How they didn't make contact on the exit is beyond me.
Here's the thing, though, as they look at time penalties, Ozda has the smallest of advantages. He has only 5 seconds of time penalty. Harry has 6 seconds worth of time penalty. So as that stands right now, that would mean that Ozda has a small advantage in that way. If he can just keep that McLaren behind him or right alongside of him, he can maintain that advantage to the end of this race, assuming that neither of them get any more points. Any more penalty points, that is.
And as we say that, Zola picked up another penalty for track limits. Asda doing really well to keep Harry behind it, but at the same time, it's allowing Neon to get right onto the back of this battle for second place. Anyway, because it's allowing Neon to close the gap in this battle for second place. Neon's got to be careful not to pick up any warnings, otherwise he risks picking up a penalty, and he'll need to overtake these cars on track.
I think maybe Harry has burned the best off of his rubber. Remember, Harry came in and pitted 2 laps before Ozzy, gave him that track position, let him fight for this for so long. But Harry now seems to be falling off a little bit in the corners. You have to realize he's on slightly older tires. He's dealing with the extreme aerodynamic wake of that car ahead as well. This could get very, very frustrating for him over these last 2 laps. Also, there's supposed to be a poll that was going to go up about, hey, how many drivers finished this race? Are we going to have 5 DNFs? I said there's no way that we have that many drivers finish. I was sure that we were going to see at least 5 people drop out. The only DNF today is TIR Foreman, who crashed out lap 1. We've run a completely green and clean race since that point. So, outstanding job to everyone on that point.
Yeah, massive props for everybody for being able to keep it on the track as much as they could. And this means if anybody DNFs now, they will still be classified in the official race results. And Pelly has now officially lapped English first, and so far only car to be lapped on track at the moment. It's unlikely that Torpedo will be caught in terms of getting lapped anytime soon, but there we go. There is English just getting out of the way of this battle for second place.
Alright, so Harry's going to have 2 more DRS attempts to try and get by Ozda. He's been really laying hard into the ERS this last lap. He's right behind the Aston Martin as they're going down this first of the 2 DRS straightaways. Yellow flag, Yun! Crashed out last lap!
That is really unlucky there.
Well, the sad thing is he was already out of the points scenario, so it doesn't really affect the grand scheme of this race, but it's still going to be a frustration. Harry laying hard into the ERS right now, trying to stay tucked up behind Ozda, but I don't think that McLaren's tires have what is going to be necessary to get a good run out of Maggots and Beckett's. He needs to pull off a perfect run through here if he even wants to get alongside the Aston Martin. Yeah,
because he does have 1 more second of penalties than Asda does. Asda got his penalty.
Ooh! Big mistake.
He got his penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Harry's had his penalty because of track limits. It's going to be close. Is he going to get ahead? Not quite, but we're going to have to cut away now because we're going to be seeing Pelly cross the line now. He is going to win the British Grand Prix here at Next 2 this evening. And what's going to happen here in this battle for second place? It doesn't look like anything's going to change. Asda gets that 5 seconds.
Neon.
And there's Neon, second place. Asda keeps third. And that Chubby has to settle for 5th. That is that is a lot of damage to his championship lead. Boothie 6th, James
Is it really though?
7th, Zola 8th.
I don't know if that's really that.
And
I don't know if that's really that much of a damage.
In 10th place. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think that's that bad for Shelby Spark, all things considered. You know, he comes home, runs a relatively clean race, comes home in 5th position, doesn't have to worry about any accidents, just kind of ran by himself. He came into this race with a very respectable lead in the points as well. 5th isn't that bad, especially when you have a shortened season. Just coming home top 5 every single race across the season will be enough to possibly get you that driver's title.
And that's providing you don't have any of your rivals finishing ahead of you on a consistent basis.
Veloce is going to come across the line in 12th. Mr. Preacher is going to come across in 13th. And 14th will go to Extra Torpedo. Torpedo barely keeping his Williams on the lead lap.
Yeah, Preacher with the fastest lap outside the top 10, which is also the fastest lap of the race, so he'll get the bonus point for that. 1:29.106. It looks like that's the fastest time inside the top 10, but we'll double check that when we get to the championship stand, when we get to the race classifications. Boothie there gets driver of the day.
All right, well, we're going to try and get our podium finishers into the party real quickly here. We mainly want to get our race winner, Pelly, into the party here, what he has to say, because all things considered, we didn't really see Pelly's race. He kind of just walked off into the sunset and just kind of cruised by himself today.
Yeah, that's very true. He was just in a class zone, and yes, it is Toby Sparks that has the fastest lap inside the top 10. So we'll just recap the race results. Pelly getting the win, Neon in second as the third. Great performance from him, bouncing back from 12th place. Harry in fourth, Toby Sparks in fifth, Boothie in sixth, James Strong in seventh, Zola 8th, Shikara 9th, J11 in 10th, Toby Sparks with the fastest lap inside the top 10. Dave Veloce, Mr. Preacher, he gets the fastest lap outside the top 10, so he'll get a bonus point for that. Torpedo, English, Young. Young is classified, and Foreman not finishing the race after crashing out at the start.
Alright, and now here coming into the party is XRL Pelly. Pelly, go ahead, include your audio. A fantastic drive starting the outside front row. Easy overtaking to the race lead, and you just kind of walked off on yourself. Walk us through the race from your perspective. Pelly, can you hear us? Pelly may be having some issues with the mic scenario. Here, real quickly, while Pelly tries to get that fixed, we will go ahead and try and talk about our second place finisher, Mr. Neon. Neon, go ahead and include your audio. Relatively solid race for you today. Came home fourth across the line, but second overall due to the way penalty countbacks worked out. What do you have to say about your run today?
Yeah, I had a pretty good start. I decided to start on the mediums. I think in hindsight I should have started on the softs. Would have been a better strategy. Haley just sort of took off and just didn't even think about anyone else during the race. He was in a world of his own. Being penalty free clearly helped me a lot, but overall pretty solid race.
Alright, well, you come home second today for the Red Bull team. It's also going to bring you a good 18 points in the Manufacturers Championship. Again, shortened season. What do you think the top ceiling is going to be for you and your team when it comes to championship points finishing now for X2?
Well, I believe we've got, me and my teammate have got a bit of pace to maybe challenge for the constructors. I don't know a lot about my new teammate, but I'm sure next couple of races I'll have a good idea.
Alright, well, regardless, good job on your second place finish, mate, and a great start to this event and a great finish as well. Pelly, just try again. Are you able to reach out and talk with us, or are you just having mic issues, or what? Alright, we still not gotten... Okay. Okay, that may be the case. There may be a scenario where Pelly doesn't have a mic. Well, either way, if you have something you do want to say about the victory, Pelly, you can go ahead and send it to I or Kinsey in a Xbox message, and we'll read it aloud. We do want to talk with our third place finisher, XRL Ozda, real quickly. Ozda, go ahead and include your audio. A fantastic drive. You started outside of the top 10 in 12th, and you bowled your way through the entire grid, and we're fighting up for a second spot all day today. Time penalties knock you down to third in the end, but fantastic drive. What do you have to say today, mate?
I don't know. I guess I just started on the soft four. That would be the best strategy, as I could get in most places, having a quali ban last time I came out here. So starting 12th, obviously where I shouldn't have been, but also with the V1 people not being able to turn up, etc. I gained literally 6 places. I meant to start 20th, so that was a positive from the start, and then I just tried to get my way through the field as quick as I can. I knew I had a lot of pace around here because the original race that we did, I was sitting P3 with no penalties before obviously safety question evidence happened with VA servers. So yeah, I just balls to the walls and just tried to send it in every opportunity. I don't think I'm going to keep first place, so as I did weave quite excessively on Chapel Straight. So we'll have to see, but anyway, a top 5 is a decent finish starting from 12.
All right. Well, third place finish here today. What do you think you can maybe steal a win or two before this season ends?
Definitely. I mean, in Monza, I was literally 2 tenths off away from Venom, who won that race. So this is probably a really good form to start on, and just trying to build on that really, and hopefully maybe catch Chubby for the title. But I highly doubt it.
All right. Well, I do want to say thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us. Outstanding drive today. One more person we want to talk to, our fifth place finisher, Chubby Spark. Chubby, you came into this race as the points leader. You're going to walk out of here still as the points leader. Well, you jumped into the party. So too late. You're going to have to deal with it. Cope,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, you came into this race with the respectable lead in the points, and two of your biggest rivals did not finish ahead of you. Pelly, who was fourth, 33 points out, is going to get a bunch of points. How do you feel about your championship standings now, though?
Pretty okay. I think I'm gonna inherit P4, as I think Austin just said he weaved a lot. So I might inherit P4 and any other penalties that come about. Hopefully I can jump up the grid, but today I told my teammate who crashed on team 1, turn 1, I just want a clean race. I just want to get some points on the people behind me, and it looks like Pelly's now going to be my biggest rival, so this will be fun, I guess. I'm just glad I had a clean race. I did get a penalty. I probably could have got P3 if I didn't, but yeah. So it was a good race overall. Pelly obviously was just insane today. I just did not have the pace. I mean, Neon, you were insane on every tire, especially the soft. I could not gain on you. You gained like a second, and I could not. So, good race to all of you. Yeah.
Yeah, GG's, man.
All right. Well, that's the word from your championship leader coming through this race. And now, basically, it's time to wrap up the broadcast. Kinsey, I'm always so glad to be able to share a broadcast booth with you, but not having to do qualifying today, it makes it seem like this time was even shorter than it actually was. I do hope we're able to partner up again sometime in the near future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I think this race definitely delivered on all fronts with everything from the action to the drama and just the overall entertainment factor.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say this was a very calm race. There wasn't really a whole lot that went on.
And we didn't have a safety car, unlike the last time we came here.
Yeah, that's the other thing. X3. Yeah, we still haven't had an X3 race without a safety car, but we finally have gotten an X3 race without a safety car that I've gotten to be there. So
it's never gonna happen, ever. Never. It's just a tradition in X3.
Mathematically speaking, it is possible and should eventually occur. But anyways,
mathematically, bullshit. It's never gonna happen.
All right. Well, regardless of what is going to happen there, this is going to be the only race for XRL this weekend. Next weekend, I will not be broadcasting, sadly, but X1 and X3 will still be running at their normal times at Spa-Francorchamps at 5 p.m. UK time. Kinsey should, from what I understand, be covering the Spa race on the main channel. And it will likely be XRL Zola doing the broadcasting for the X3 race on the alternate channel. Then next week on Sunday at 8 p.m. UK time will be the X2 race at Spa-Francorchamps. I highly encourage everyone to jump in and check that out because Spa is one of the most interesting and chaotic races on the schedule. Until next time, though, I've been your host for today's race in St. Lear 13. I've been joined once again by Kinsey Retro. I want to say thank you all for jumping in and goodbye, everyone.